right into the eyes. All I have on right now is foundation and concealer. So I'm gonna start with a paint pot. This is MAC's Layin Low. And I'm just gonna use my middle finger and just put that all the way over the lid and kind of work whatever's left a little bit under the eye. Now what I usually do is my eyes first and then I do foundation. Since I'm doing foundation first today, I left the powdering until the end so that if I have any cleaning up to do, I can do that and then powder so I don't have to do everything all over again. The other thing is I'm gonna do kind of like a top heavy look today, so there shouldn't be a lot of shading and smoking out, and that's usually when it's a good idea to start your eyes first because that's when you get all that fall down. So this just gives me a nice blank canvas. I went ahead and I pulled a little of the foundation over my eyelid too, because usually around my eyes I'm not tan at all, and then on my face I am, so that kind of gives me like a blank canvas to get started with. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a neutral palette, since it doesn't really matter what colors we're using today, or really what palette you're using, because we're mostly gonna be using neutral colors. So I just went ahead and went for this Lorac Pro 2, which is a really nice palette to have. And I'm gonna be mostly focusing kind of on like these 4 colors here. I'm gonna stick to matte. I'm gonna keep it basic, so really just something like kind of warm and kind of mid-tone, and then maybe something a little cool to provide a little more depth. I'll usually use like a few brushes, like one brush to blend, one brush to apply color, and then something maybe a little more precise, and then sometimes I'll even, you know, if I have it on hand, I'll use something like this, or maybe even a pencil brush, which looks not like this. Where's my pencil brush at? Here it is. Here's my pencil brush, something like this. I usually recommend having like 3 brushes, maybe 4, just so that you have one to apply and then one to blend out. A lot of times people find, and they tell me this, that you know, they end up with this like just kind of cloudy mess, and that's usually because you have product on the brush that you're blending with, so it just sweeps it over your whole eyelid. So anyway, we're gonna take this nice fluffy brush, and I'm just gonna dip it into this color here, Nectar, and this is my most used color in this palette. Just kind of like a warm, kind of like tawny, sort of beigey color. And I'm gonna just kind of brush that liberally right into the crease and over the lid, and you can be sloppy with this, which is really nice. With this light brown color, and I'm gonna use this same color, the same brush, and I'm just gonna put a little bit here. I'm just gonna go right there, and I'm gonna kind of go right in the natural curve and the natural crease of the eye, keeping most of that color and that product in the outer area. So I want it to be really smooth, and that's one way that you do that is just by starting with something kind of light, then mid-tone, and then you get darker and darker. So you never really see like where that brush went down. It's just like this sort of like magical, mysterious diffusion of color. This is called Buff, and it's just a very light kind of vanilla-y, a little yellowish, and it's matte. I'm just gonna take a little bit of that, and I'm gonna kind of lighten up the lid and a little bit under the brow. Easy breezy. Because I know that I'm gonna do something with the liner. So for years I just used straight up black, but then I started using this really dark brown. It's like almost black, it's so dark. This one is called Lowlight by MAC. And then I'm gonna take a nice skinny brush, not the skinniest brush I own, but it's like a nice tapered brush. I'm gonna make sure it's not too stiff just by kind of like rubbing it on the back of my hand. And then I'm gonna dip some product. So I'm gonna go ahead and just saturate that nice pointy brush, lots of product, so that when I do go to my eye, it's nice and smooth. I'm gonna start kind of like the inner third, and I'm just gonna kind of brush it across, starting thin, but I'm gonna start to flick it up. So I use this lower lash line as my guide. It's kind of going up like that. The other thing you want to watch for is if you have a really prominent crease like I do, if I go into the groove and up, it's going to look like a little wiggle and like a little zigzag. So I tend to stay kind of clear of that. And then I just kind of build my wing around that. And then once I've gotten my kind of blueprint, I'm just going to go in and perfect and fill in it a little more. Okay, so I've thickened it in a little bit. I've kind of created that little flick. It's kind of like more like a kitten flick, and mine is kind of like an upward diagonal because I feel like that suits my eye shape the best. So I'm probably gonna keep it just about at that, but because I wanna make the eye a little bit more modern, so it's like not too Mad Men-y, which is a great look, but I'm gonna make it a little more modern. I'm gonna go in and get a little bit of this medium brown. This is light brown, and then I mix it with a little of this cool gray. And these two together are gonna provide a little depth. And what I'll do is I'll just dip the tip of this fluffy Bdellium Tools. I believe this is a number 776. I have a few of these, I think they're great. And I'm just gonna kind of mix these colors, not too much product. And I'm just gonna sort of like soften that wing a little bit and create a little more depth. So now my eyes just look really wide and really open. And we'll go from there. So I'm gonna go and do the second side, and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so I'm back. I've done both eyes now, as you can see. And the thing about our eyes is nobody's eyes are exactly the same on both sides. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of take a little clean Q-tip with a little bit of non-oily eye makeup remover, and I'm just gonna clean up and sort of sweep both wings up in the same direction. So now everything is just like clean and good. Oops. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna dig into my bag. I've got all my kind of cheap products from my kit in here. And I'm gonna find a nice warm bronzer. I'm kind of in like a warm kind of mood right now. I think I'll go for this Chanel one. This is a great cream bronzer. This is the Soleil de Chanel. So we're gonna take a nice synthetic brush like this. I love this for bronzer. Let me put this down so it doesn't fall off my lap and break everything. And I'm just gonna dip this in, and again, I'm using the back of my hand, and I'm just gonna create a little bit of warmth. I'll list all the products below, but I'm just gonna do a little concealer here, and this gives me a little bit of a highlight. And you'll notice that as the seasons change and we get deeper into summer and you get a little color, like you might have to go a little darker in your foundation, and what was a concealer might now be a highlighter. So don't feel like you have to be the same color all year round, because you're not the same color all year round in your skin unless you live in a basement, which hopefully you don't. I'm just gonna kind of blend that out. This is MAC Warm Soul, and I'm just gonna take this a little bit over the tops of the cheeks. Never was a huge fan of blush. I don't know, I guess I used to think it made me look fat. Now I feel like I don't have as big cheeks as I used to have because I'm getting old and it might be time for some Juvederm. That's another story. The thing about this is like you twist the wand and then you get more of like a curl. It actually changes. See how it's kind of getting more, and then now it's getting straight. Do I think this is a great mascara? No, I just need something to coat my lashes. Am I gonna repurchase it? Probably not. It's nice, it's not great. We're really top heavy today. That's kind of my favorite look, is like top heavy, meaning more on top, not so much on the bottom. I'll switch it up obviously, but. Okay, so I went into my lash stash because I have kind of like a lot of stuff, and I'm gonna use these. I don't use these a whole lot. These are Red Cherry number 99s. As you can see, they're kind of like piecey and a little spidery. So we're gonna play with these and see what they look like. I do have a video just for lashes, so I'm gonna kind of give you guys the abridged version today. It's helpful to have a set of tweezers, if you use them, and a set of scissors for trimming the length of the lash, like the band length. Because sometimes they make the lashes so long that they're, you know, your eye's not wide enough and then it's hanging off the edge. So we'll see. What I usually do on myself and like my clients, I see, okay, like, let's look at the lash. Let's see if we need to trim. Yeah, I'm gonna trim like a couple off. I suggest trimming off the outer edge. That way the inner corner is nice and short if it's one of those kinds of lashes. So I'm trimming just a little bit off. That I'll toss. And then today I'm gonna use my black duo glue. I'm gonna need to let that kind of sit for about 60 seconds. Some people say 30, I like it thick, and I do about 60 seconds. And then when I do plop the lash down, it's down, it doesn't go anywhere. So we'll just wait for that, and I'll come right back. Okay, so I'm back. I'm gonna take my handy little hand mirror and gaze down and just plop those babies right in the center. Stick it use my tweezers to tuck in the ends. And this is why you need to wait long enough that the glue gets tacky, so when you plop it down, it stays there. So I want to get as close to the lash line as possible, and then I'll use this edge of my tweezer just to kind of make sure they're all down nice and flush. Okay, so lashes are on. So while the glue is drying, you can go right in and take a little bit of mascara and just kind of like tap under, just to kind of make sure everything is like melded together. Okay, now we need a lip. So you have strong eyes like this, but clean on the bottom. So I think today's lip has to be kind of like bright and like intense, you know? Otherwise it just kind of, your mouth just disappears. So I'm gonna go into my lip stash. Yes. This one jumps out at me. This is like my favorite kind of like orangey red. And I'm gonna go right from the bullet because this is my personal one. So here's Lady Danger. You can see it's like this bright tangerine red. And it's matte, so it stays a really long time. And now, my lips don't have like a crazy intense, you know, shape to them. So I'm gonna go in let's take, here we go. I should have been prepared. This is a lip pencil in red, R-E-D-D, which couples perfectly with MAC Lady Danger. And I'm gonna do a little bit of post lipstick lining. So some people line before, some people line after. If I'm doing a red lip, I usually do the color and then I go in with the liner. Lisa Eldridge taught me that. If you don't know who she is, look her up. She's amazing. So I've just kind of added a little bit of shape. Now, just for all intents and purposes, I wanted to make this a little bit retro. So the retro look is a little more heart-shaped, so it's like a wider sort of Cupid's bow, whereas like in the 80s, it was like a sharper V. It's like, it's interesting how lip shapes change. Anyway, here is the finished look. One more thing I'm gonna do is take a little bit of this Fix Plus, and I'm just gonna spritz. It feels so refreshing, but this kind of keeps your makeup like nice and dewy and just kind of sets everything really nice. I hope you guys like the look. I would love to see you recreate it and see your versions of it. Tag me on Instagram, Faces by Lucy. All right, I'm just gonna finish with this because my camera keeps turning off. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video.